Conduct in the City Council chambers. Rules of decorum for the public. Members of the audience shall not engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct, including the utterance of loud, threatening, or abusive language, clapping, whistling, stamping of feet, or other acts which disturb, disrupt, impede, or otherwise render the orderly conduct of the city meeting infeasible. A member of the audience engaging in any such conduct shall, at the discretion of the presiding officer or a majority of the City Council, be subject to ejection from the meeting per Government Code Section 54954.3C. Removal from the council chambers. Any person who commits the following acts in respect to a meeting of the city shall be removed from the council chambers per Government Code Section 54954.3C. A, disorderly, contemptuous, or insolent behavior towards the City Council or any member thereof, tending to interrupt the due and orderly course of said meeting. A breach of peace, boisterous conduct, or violent disturbance tending to interrupt the due and orderly course of said meeting. Disobedience of any lawful order from the mayor, which shall include an order to be seated or to refrain from addressing the City Council, and any other unlawful interference with the due and orderly course of said meeting. Good evening, everybody. We're going to reconvene this meeting out of closed session into open session. I want to welcome everybody to the joint special and regularly scheduled meeting for Tuesday, October the 15th, 2024. City of Taft Council meetings are being held in person with full capacity seating and are live streamed at www.youtube.com/user/City of Taft. Public comment can be made in person and also can be received per the following. Written comments may be dropped off in the drop box in front of City Hall. Comments may be emailed to the city clerk at cityclerk@cityoftaft.org. They may also be made by phone to the city clerk's office at 661-763-1222. Public comments will be accepted up until 5 p.m. the day of the meeting, and all comments received will be read into the record. We'll begin this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Chavera, followed by the invocation from Pastor John Getty. If you will all join us, please.
Yes, please join me. Right hand over heart. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this evening. We thank you for the privilege that we have to welcome your presence here tonight, God. We thank you for Mayor Knorr and the council and all those gathered here today who just care so much about our city and our community. Bless us this evening, then we pray. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Knorr.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Pryor.
Here.
Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Waldrop.
Here.
And Councilmember Chavera.
Here. At this time, I would ask that City Attorney Jason Epperson to report out of closed session, if you would, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report out of closed session is that the City Council discussed those items agendized for closed session in closed session, specifically conference with labor negotiator Craig Jones, City Manager, pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The City Council discussed that item, gave direction to negotiator and staff, and recessed at 5:44 p.m. It took no other reportable action. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, first item on this evening's agenda is the annual military equipment report, community engagement meeting. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Pursuant to Assembly Bill 481, an invitation for the community engagement was put out to the community at large through a publication in the Taft Midway Driller. Publication of the invitation on the city's website, Facebook account, and the public posting board at City Hall to receive comment, feedback, and engagement regarding the Police Department's 2023-2024 annual military equipment report that was presented to Council on September 3rd, 2024. The report remains available on the city's website.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. Madam Clerk, I would ask if you had received any comments on the city's website.
No, sir.
Under report, thank you very much. At this time, I'll open the floor for community engagement, comment, and feedback on the Taft Police Department's 2023-2024 Annual Military Equipment Report presented to the council on September the 3rd, 2024. If anybody in the audience would care to comment on that, please step forward. I don't see anybody. All right, well, thank you all. Obviously, everybody has faith in what was presented, and we're comfortable with it. Gentlemen, you have any comments on this?
No comment.
Thank you for the report, Sergeant McClure.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Good to know we're all taken care of. All right. Item number 2. Annual review and renewal of ordinance 847-22, adopting the military equipment use policy in accordance with AB 481. Recommendation is review the ordinance, and then I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft, renewing ordinance 847-22, adopting the City of Taft Police Department military equipment use policy in accordance with Assembly Bill 481, and find that the activity is not a project per the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, as set forth in Section 15060C3 and Section 15378 of the CEQA guidelines."
So point of order, Mr. Mayor, do we need to maybe skip over the review of the ordinance since we've already done that leading into this meeting, or do we need to review it in some sort of detail?
Was it not reviewed when it was presented to City Council the first time?
Yes.
That's
back
my
in
understanding as well.
22. But
Perfect.
it's required that it be reviewed annually or brought to be reviewed annually, and the ordinance renewed, and that's a process we're doing right now.
Even though there was no changes to it, to be clear.
Well, basically, you're just renewing it with no changes.
Okay, all right, very good then. Well then, I didn't mean to skip over that, City Manager Jones, to give you the opportunity to read it.
Thank you, Mayor. It's pretty self-explanatory, but as per AB 481, the ordinance 847-22, an annual military equipment use report is submitted to the council by the police department for review and renewal of said ordinance. The report was submitted and reviewed by council September 3rd, 2024 meeting, and the ordinance is now being brought back for review and renewal by a resolution.
Okay, so the recommendation to review the ordinance, I would ask the city attorney, the ordinance is here, and the resolution, does the resolution need to be read into the record, sir? Again?
Does not.
Perfect.
Does not. Okay. Do any of the council members wish to ask any questions or discuss any aspect of this resolution that has been passed?
None here.
No? All right then.
So I will make the motion to accept the ordinance as presented and to adopt a resolution as enumerated in the agenda.
And I will second.
All right, very good. No additional discussion, gentlemen?
Sir.
Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Crier,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant,
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop,
Yes.
Councilmember Chivera,
Yes.
and Mayor Noor.
Yes, that passes on a 5-0 vote. Thank you all very much. And once again, thank you, gentlemen, for that. All right, next up, item number 3, citizens request public comments. We have none this evening. To be clear, we're always thrilled to have people here as a part of this because after all, this is the people's government. It is not our government. So love to have people here participating. I would bring up item number 4, the Planning Commission report. I know we have a planning commissioner here this evening.
Good evening, Mayor Noor, members of the City Council. The City Planning Commission met at its regularly scheduled time, and we began the review of amendments proposed to the planning ordinance based out of the study that was done for the housing element. As is usual, between elements, the government has lots of changes they want you to make. And so for the most part, there'll be minor changes that will be brought to you folks sometime probably in the beginning of the year. That's it.
That is going to be an ongoing process.
Yes, it is.
All right. Thank you very much for the report. Appreciate that, sir. Next up, item number 5, council statements, non-action. Councilman Waldrop, begin with you this evening, sir.
I have nothing at this time, thank you.
All right. Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be brief. After our last meeting, we had a gentleman and his wife come down and speak in front of us, and the impression I got was they thought it was a challenge to come down here and say, hey, if you really have this problem, come down and say it in public. And I definitely want to make sure we're clear that that's definitely not a challenge. It's an encouragement. We want folks to come down here and air your praises and grievances alike, engage in your governmental process, and be part of it. Not that we don't take your feedback through other mechanisms. Of course we do. That's why we ended up responding to a lot of those emails or those types of things. But this is the place, this is the forum where those things are conducted. Although business does happen ancillary to that, this is the platform to have it happen, to not only have it put out in front of the public and be recorded, but to be as part of the record. And so I want to be very, very clear that in no way or shape or form are we intending to be adversarial. We want to be collaborative. We want to have you here telling us, matter of fact, this is what's happening. This is how my perspective, so we can respond, we can engage, we can game plan should the need arise. So I would encourage folks to come down anytime if you want. Like I said, grievances or praises alike, bring them. We'd love to have it. I know I can count on these two hands without using each finger more than once over the last 10 years how many times I can remember seeing someone come down and speak in front of the council with a legitimate issue. And I'm not trying to be disparaging at all. That's legitimate. We have relatively few folks who are willing to put their name on it, get up in front of folks and engage, positive or negative. And if that means that you're happy, great, but we'd still love to have you. If that means you're apathetic, bad. Show up, engage, be part of the process, whether you're as a citizen or engaging in this civic project. But I want folks to understand that we truly want your engagement, we want your feedback, and we want your you being active as part of your local government. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So it's an invitation,
It's
not a
an
challenge.
open invitation.
Open invitation.
Open arms.
All right, very good. Thank you very much, sir. Councilman Chavera.
Yes, I'll be brief as well. So elections is coming up, and I would encourage folks, instead of watching social media, I would encourage you to do your due diligence on your own. So please, now is the time to start educating ourselves, and that's not just by that's not by social media or watching the news. And I'll leave you with a quote based on this. It is favorable to liberty. Freedom can exist only in a society of knowledge. Without learning, men are incapable of knowing their rights. And where learning is confined to a few people, liberty can be neither equal nor universal. And that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mayor Pro Tem Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with our council here that this is your government. We're just a representative for you to speak out. And so if you have any issues and stuff, you can always call, write a letter, email, or come here in person. I like it when they come in person because it puts a face to the issue, and it makes it a lot better. But we do listen. We want to not like to hear all of it, but it brings it to our attention because if you're speaking for it, you're speaking at a good percentage of the people that think this like you. And remember that now we're coming to October, end of October and November. Now the holiday season starts. You're going to see a lot of activities. A lot of fairs, fiestas, or Christmas coming up, and Easter. Not Easter, that's too far down the line, but you got Thanksgiving, it's coming up here pretty quick, and that's another great deal for keeping our community together and close. There's a lot of things going on, and you can participate. There's always something to be part of. And like I always say, is that there's a lot of organizations out there you can sign up for. Rotary Club, if you're interested to come to it. We have a meeting tomorrow at Joe's Restaurant at noon. If anybody's interested to come to it. The Lions Club has theirs on Tuesday, the second and fourth Tuesday. Kiwanis have theirs on Thursdays over at OT's and at noon. And there's so many great organizations. Swampness, they have theirs on. I can't remember what day they have theirs on, but they have that at Joe's Restaurant. But there's so many activities that goes on that you can be part of and be part of our community that you can see what's happening and be involved with it. That's all I have to say, Mayor.
All right. As another message, get involved. This is part of it. It's your community, it's your government, so be a part of it. That's a wonderful thing. Thank you very much, sir. I did not make the last meeting, but I read about the issues that faced the council, and I want to say that I think the council did a great job dealing with those particular issues. Like Councilman Bryant said, there's never been a challenge to people to appear before this board. I mean, this is the people's government. You're always welcome. And I hope we've made that clear. And once again, thanks for reminding everybody of that aspect of government. It's your government. Be a part of it. Something else that just happened while I was gone was another hurricane, a big hurricane in Florida. My sister lives in the state of Florida, and she was impacted along with just about everybody in that state with this last hurricane. And I remember watching as things evolved, and I called my sister to see if she had power at the end of it. She did not. Tree branch had broken off, smashed the windshield out of her car, but she lived at a very high elevation in Florida, like 262 feet above sea level. That's kind of a mountain in Florida. But other than that, they were well prepared. They had food, they had water, they had generators, they had fuel. So she made it through unscathed. And as I listened to the reports about the hurricane, I remember more than one commentator saying, you know, here's another one of the devastating effects of climate change. I don't know how many times I heard that, but I heard that multiple times. And I had to think about that, you know, and climate change. Every time there's a change in the weather, it's climate change. We hear that. So what happened with this last hurricane? Well, the storm surge was headed for Tampa, if you recall. And it actually ended up at about 5 or 6 feet of storm surge in Tampa Bay, which is rather substantial if you live right down by the water. And here again, climate change is the effects on climate by people burning fossil fuels, right? Oil, natural gas, and coal. So if we stop burning them, then these anomalies will go away. Because after all, they didn't happen before we burned all those fossil fuels, before people did that. So currently, there are over 100,000 daily commercial flights around the world per day. 100,000 per day. There's about 8.2 billion people on this planet today living a carbon-intensive life. In the United States of America, there's about 280 million automobiles. And so, all of that activity, that global activity, caused climate change, caused that 5.6-foot surge in Tampa Bay. But you know what? If you look back in history, history is a phenomenal thing, an amazing thing, and I look back a little bit. In 1972, there was a storm surge of about 5.6 feet. There was only 75 million vehicles in the United States. There were billions fewer people. In 1921, that storm surge hit 11 feet in Tampa Bay. 1921. In the year of 1929, almost 6,000 Americans used a commercial flight over the course of the year. 6,000 people. There weren't many vehicles on the road, and there was about 1.8 billion people on the planet. But the biggest storm surge in Tampa was the Great Hurricane of 1848, when storm surge exceeded 15 feet. 1.2 billion people on the planet. The only way you could fly is if you were born with wings, and mostly there were wagons. So, if climate change caused Tampa Bay's surge to be 5.6 feet last week, what in the hell caused it to be 15 feet in 1848? Somebody help me out with that.
That'd have been all those campfires around the wagon trail.
Yeah, had to be. Buffalo, I don't know. But you know what? By saying what I just said, by doing the research and digging it up and sharing the facts with everybody, I will be labeled a climate denier. Okay? So there you go. That's the way things work in this day and age. By doing the research, sharing the facts, questioning the narrative, you're a denier. Well, I guess I'll take that label because I want to know the truth. I want to share the truth. I want to share the history. So by just automatically labeling something like that, which we tend to do these days, or groups of people tend to do these days, you actually discredit the science. So it doesn't mean anything. I don't think that does anybody any good. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. As bad as it was in Tampa Bay in 1848, it was a lot worse. That's Dave's College of Obscure Knowledge. Thank you all for joining me. All right, we'll move on then. Department reports, item number 6. Do we have any department reports this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 7, city manager statement. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. No statements tonight.
Thanks, sir. Item number 8, city attorney statements.
Nothing tonight, Mr. Mayor.
All right, nothing additional since you already reported out. Thanks, sir. Item number 9, future agenda requests, gentlemen.
None here?
None here.
Seeing none, okay, then we'll move on to consent calendar items 10 through 14. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the city council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none. Those items are item number 10, which is the minutes of the October 1st, 2024 regularly scheduled meeting. Item number 11 is the payment of bills, some $126,000 worth. Item number 12 is the monthly report for Kern County Fire Station number 21 for September of 2024. Recommendation is receive and file the monthly report for September 2024 from Kern County Fire Station number 21 and find that the activity is not a project per the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, as set forth in Section 15060C3 and Section 15378 of the CEQA guidelines. Item 13 is a special event permit and waiver of application fees for the St. Mary's Catholic Church to host a festival on their property on Sunday, November the 3rd, 2024. Recommendation is a motion to approve a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving special event permit number 2024-10 and to waive application fees for St. Mary Catholic Church to host a festival on their property on Sunday, November the 3rd, 2024, and find that the activity is not a project for the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, as set forth in Section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines." Lastly, item 14 is the approval of agreement for the purchase of 5 Flock LPR cameras for the City of Taft Police Department. Recommendation is a motion to approve the master services agreement quote from Flock Group Incorporated to be paid the first year amount of $17,750 and every year following in contract of $15,000. Authorize the mayor to sign the agreement and find that the activity is not a project per the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, as set forth in Section 15060C3 and Section 15378 of the CEQA guidelines. Does any member of the council wish to remove any of these items from the consent calendar?
None here.
None. I would like to remove item 13, please. So, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items 10, 11, 12, and 14.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, may we have roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Cryer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavera,
Yes.
and Mayor Knorr.
Yes, that approved on a 5-0 vote. Thank you very much. That brings us to item 13, special event permit and waiver of application fees for the St. Mary's Catholic Church to host a festival on their property on Sunday, November the 3rd, 2024. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff received a special event permit application and letters from the St. Mary's Catholic Church requesting to host a festival on their property Sunday, November 3rd, 2024. The festival is planned to start set up at 6 a.m. The event is occurring from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The event will include live music, games for children, food, and non-alcoholic drinks. The church will utilize their own restrooms in the buildings and make them available to their guests. Conditions of approval: all amplified music and sounds of the event shall end at 6 p.m. The church shall provide sufficient trash receptacles. All church-approved retail vendors of special event shall have a business license of the City of Taft, and the church shall provide sufficient personnel to assist with the organization of the event, maintenance, guest areas, food areas with vehicles in their parking lot.
Thank you very much, City Manager Jones. Recommended action is a motion to approve a resolution entitled a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft approving special event permit number 2024-10 and to waive application fees for St. Mary's Catholic Church to host a festival on their property on Sunday, November the 3rd, 2024, and find that the activity is not a project per the California Environmental Quality Act (CEQA) as set forth in section 15061B3 of the CEQA guidelines. At this time, I would entertain such a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, I ask that this be removed for a couple different reasons, gentlemen. First off, I wanted the people of our community to understand somewhat of the process that people go through in order to have an event like this. And it takes a process, and it takes permits, and it takes, approval as well as guidelines. So I want to thank you, City Manager Jones, for reading that out. I did have a question because under the conditions of approval, first one, all amplified music and sounds from the event shall end at 6 p.m. But I did not see an approved start time. I saw that the event start time was 10 a.m., but they can start setting up at 6 a.m. So just so everybody knows the rules, I was curious, does that mean that the amplified music can begin at 10? After all, it is a Sunday morning. And secondly, this is one of those things that oftentimes breeds calls to law enforcement for concern or complaint, and that is the volume of music. So my question would be, how many calls of complaint do law enforcement ignore before such a time as they go talk to the folks and ask them to give somewhat consideration? Those are the two questions I had. When can the music begin? And just what can the people having it expect should they get multiple complaints from the neighbors?
As the approval, I think it can start as early as 10 a.m. We generally ask that they talk to their neighbors so their neighbors can air out their disagreement with the volume of music with them before they call law enforcement because they have other things that they're probably doing.
Guaranteed.
But we do encourage groups to come down and seek these so we can set some approvals. It gets it out there so the neighbors know what's taking place, that it's going to end at 6 p.m. so it doesn't continue beyond. And generally, people are okay as long as it's occasional, not all the time. So we're hopeful that they reached out to their neighbors and we don't get calls from or to the police department.
Okay, but that is the normal part of the process. So even though we didn't see it, that's already been somewhat discussed.
Amplified music always requires a permit with the city. And sometimes it does, go till 10 p.m. in some
Right.
situations. But in the situations that it goes later, that we do normally ask that they reach out. Either they mail something or they go and get acknowledgments from their neighbors that they say it's okay.
All right.
Like
Very
if you
good.
had a block party on your street for 4th of July and you wanted to pay the money to have special insurance and permits and all that, you would have to reach out to your neighbors.
All right. Fair enough. Well, those were my questions, and that's why I pulled it. Gentlemen, are there any other questions or comments regarding this?
Very much along your questions lines. I saw and I read that this is all on private property. They're not really encroaching upon the streets. They're not really. It's not like the traditional conditional use permits that we issue to shut down a street. So it made me wonder, why are they asking for a permit? What do they have to get a permit? But Craig, he answered that when he talked about amplified music. So I think that was really important for folks to know.
Even though they are a church, their regular business
Sure.
is blessed, but anything outside of their regular business where they're amplified music, more people attending, stuff like that, that's out of the ordinary.
And correct me if I'm wrong, so at 10 o'clock, the music ends.
6 p.m.
Excuse me, 6 p.m., the
6
music
p.m.,
ends.
So they told us that it would end at 6 p.m., so that was a condition.
And let's just say it doesn't end at that time. What do we do next?
Complaint driven, then the PD would have this permit to back up their call for service.
Okay, I just want to make sure that I understand it correctly and the community
So
understands it as well.
typically, when we have these permits, we give copies to all the departments, so everybody's aware of what's been negotiated with the individuals.
And not that we had any issues, I'm just curious as
That
well.
we all know how to play by the rules and what the rules are. All right? Any more? Councilman?
Well, there's another festival that's open to the public, and I'm sure they welcome people from the public to come and attend. I've attended 2 of them in my career here, as far as living across the street from there, and they seem to be pretty well organized, and they don't want to make any problem, but they want to have the children have a good time with all the things they have going there, and adults for raffles and music. And they said, like any other festival, any other churches or any organization.
All right, very good. Well, sounds like the makings of a real good time. I want to thank you all for your time and helping clarify that. So, Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. May we have roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop?
Yes.
Councilmember Chivera?
Yes?
And Mayor Nor.
Yes, now pass on a 5-0 vote. Thank you all. Lastly, item number 15, CalPERS contract amendment to include 2 additional service years of credit in accordance with Government Code Section 20903. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. The City of Taft's contract with CalPERS defines specific provisions and benefit formulas for employees. A provision that was inadvertently not included in the contract for the city to offer 2 years of additional service credit and requires a contract amendment for the city to be able to offer this provision now or in the future. This action is the first step towards amending the contract to include this provision. If the City Council approves this resolution of intent, the next step would be to adopt an ordinance that would be brought to the City Council on November 5th, 2024.
Thank you, City Manager Jones. At this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt a resolution entitled Resolution of Intention, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft to approve an amendment to the contract between the Board of Administration, California Public Employees Retirement System, and the City Council of the City of Taft, and find that the activity is not a project per the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, as set forth in Section 15060C3 and Section 15378 of the CEQA guidelines.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Councilman Bryant, you made the motion. Any additional discussion, sir?
No additional comments, sir. Thank you.
Councilman Chivera, any additional comments?
None here, sir.
All right. Gentlemen, any additional comments or discussion?
No comment.
All right. Madam Clerk, I have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Councilmember Waldrop?
Yes.
Councilmember Chivera?
Yes.
And Mayor Nor.
Yes, and that passes on a 5-0 vote. That brings this evening's activities to a close. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Third.
All in favor? Aye. Good evening, everybody. Once again, we extend an open invitation for the community to come here and participate in your government. Always happy to see you. God bless. Thank you.
Thanks, John.